Willy Wonka, a master chocolatier, boards a ship to a new city and begins selling his wares at a gourmet gallery. While exploring the city, he loses most of his money, which leaves him homeless and destitute. An imposing man named Mr. Bleacher comes across Willy and assures him that he can provide a home for him. Willy is taken to Bleacher's house by Mrs. Scrubbit. With the offer of whiskey and a bed, they give off an inviting vibe. In a hushed tone, a young employee named Noodle tells Willy to read the fine print before signing the contract. He is not. Willy takes his chocolate creations, which he calls hover chalks because they are made with a special flying bug, to the town square the following day to introduce himself to the crowd and show them off. 3 of the proprietors of nearby chocolate shops, Arthur Slug, Woth, Fickle Grubber, and Prognoses, take notice of this. In order to try out the hover chalks, they go up to Willy. Although it appears that they enjoy it based on their expressions. Apparently, this chocolate is the worst they've ever tasted, and they inform Willy as much. After taking flight, they start to float due to the bug's effects. While the rest of the audience buys the chocolate, Willy watches as the chief of police and officer sees his goods. Willy only has 1 sovereign to cover the cost of his room, despite being affable. Scrubbit and Bleacher accuse Willy of a plethora of ridiculous things and make him work for them for a long time until he pays them off. Scrubbit and Bleach tricked him, and he meets other victims in the laundry chute. Abacus Crunch, a former accountant, Piper Benz, a plumber, Lottie Bell, a former telephone operator, and Larry Chuckles, a failed comedian. The longest amount of time spent in his room is required of Worth Noodle because he has accrued the most debt. It comes to Willy's attention that Noodle has never had chocolate. Once he explains to her how his mother had inspired him by teaching him how to make chocolate, he whips up a batch using his chocolate-making mechanism and some unusual ingredients. The result is a bar of chocolate adorned with a lightning bolt. Noodle gives it a go and says she enjoys it, but she doubts she'll get another chance. After that, Willy starts to formulate a plan to increase chocolate production, guaranteeing Noodle an endless supply. The chief sneaks into a church and uses his corrupt father, Julius, to go underground. While prodding the group colloquially known as the Chocolate Cartel, he meets with the slug Worth, Fickle Grubber. Because they are aware of how tasty Willy's chocolate is and how cheaply he sells it, they view him as a danger to their business. The 3 bad guys then bribe the chief with a mountain of chocolate to deal with Willy, no matter the cost. Willy and Noodle then connive Scrubbit into thinking Bleacher is an affluent aristocrat, and Bleacher into thinking Scrubbit secretly loves him in order to create a distraction. So that the other workers can kick back and relax, Willy builds a machine that uses their dog titles to do the laundry faster and more efficiently. Noodle. Willy then says he needs giraffe milk for his next invention, so she goes with him to the zoo. Willy leaves to locate the giraffe after they use a truffle to essentially intoxicate a guard. Abigail, the giraffe, agrees to let Willy milk her Noodle after he uses special mints to feed her. Abigail reveals that the ring she wears around her neck looks like the letter N, which is how Scrubbit came to call Noodle by her name. She expresses her longing for a permanent residence and a family, and Willy assures her that he will assist her in achieving her goal upon their return home. The other workers hear Willy describe his job. The shady dealings of the Chocolate Cartel, according to Abacus, include watering down their chocolate and storing the excess in a vault beneath the church, guarded by Father Julius and hundreds of cockaholic monks. The cartel also controls the town's chocolate sales and keeps records of their dealings. The others agree to let Willy sell his chocolate unhindered, knowing the dangers, but they still do it. Willy begins by helping a self-conscious man win over his girlfriend with a gift of his giraffe milk macaroons. He evades capture by the chief by slipping down storm drains after selling more tasty items. The chief learns of the plot and, in addition to controlling his growing weight due to his chocolate consumption, orders men to guard the storm drains. Willy catches the little orange man who has been stealing his chocolates in a trap he sets up at night. The ruse succeeds, and Willy meets Lofty, an Oompa Loompa. According to him, Willy wrecked his life by stealing cocoa beans from Loompa Land. For that reason, he can't go home until he receives enough chocolate as payment. Impressive pranks Willy by slashing him with a skillet and taking his candy. Willy is spied on by the chocolate cartel, who discover that Noodle is involved. They seem to be aware of her presence and consider her involvement problematic as well. After that, Slugworth goes to scrub Bleacher and it for some evil plan. So that Willy can open his shop and sell his creations, Noodle gets him the keys to the store in the town square. In due time, he lets the public in and displays an assortment of exquisite sweets, including edible flowers, cotton candy clouds, and chocolate trees, among other things. Everyone in the crowd is great at first, but then they start to experience rapid hair growth and color changes. Willy attempts to alert everyone when he realizes the chocolate has been tainted with Yeti sweat. After a particularly furious mother chops down a chandelier, the crowd turns on Willy and starts trashing his shop, eventually leading to a fire. With enough money to pay off all of their debts with Scrubbit and Bleacher, the chocolate cartel approaches Willy as he sits dejectedly in the rubble of his shop. Providing, of course, that he never returns to this town to manufacture or sell chocolate. After some hesitating, Willy agrees and gets on a boat to leave town. Lofty shows up again after some time because he thinks Willy still hasn't paid back the money he owes him. After that, Willy sees a scar on his palm. Noodle and Slugworth are likely related, since their rings are very similar, which is why Slugnorth shook his hand so firmly. Willy chooses to return after realizing she is in danger. The captain is informed by him that the cartel has rigged the boat with dynamite. Prior to the boat's explosion, though, he and Lofty leap from it. Scrubbing it releases Larry, Lottie, Piper, and the abacus. While Noodle is there, she reveals that Slugworth paid her to keep her there indefinitely. Along with poisoning the chocolates, Willy and the other adults help Noodle escape from the chocolate cartel. They intend to break into the vault and reveal the cartel's schemes to rescue Noodle. They rescue Abigail from the zoo and take her to the church, where they plan to scare the monks and Julius. The cartel finds out that Willy and Noodles have gone underground, and Slugworth points a gun at them. Noodle is his niece and brother Zeppo's daughter, so their relationship is clearly that of uncle and niece. After he dies, Noodle's mother asks Slugworth to look after her while she's sick, but Slugworth abandons her, accusing her of dying to take their chocolate fortune. The villains then try to drown Willy and Noodle in chocolate by throwing them into their vault. Before Willy even thinks about giving Lofty a jar of his chocolate, he gives Slug a jar's worth. Just before the vault is filled to the brim, though, those three jerks devour it all. In order for Willy to settle his debt, Lofty raids the church and steals most of the treasure from the vault. At the same time that Grubber and Prodo, who are worthless slugs, begin to leave. The criminals Willy and Noodle come clean with their crimes, exposing Ledger. While the chief is in custody, Affable steals the book and finds the chief's name inside. Even though they try to run, the cartel ends up floating again. Willy quips that they have a slower reaction time but more flying power when they hover, and that they hope their reserves will keep them out of jail. Willy makes their chocolate explode in the town square fountain, ruining them and sending them soaring out of town in an uncontrollable whirlwind. After that, the villagers try some of the chocolate. Reason being, it has all of Willy's components. With a note reading, "It is not important how chocolate is made, but who it is made and shared with," Willy returns to selling his chocolate and pulls out the last bar his mother made before she passed away. He continues by telling Noodle, Abacus, Piper, Lottie, and Larry about how they managed to get in touch with Noodle's mom, Dorothy Smith, by making a few phone calls. Noodle gets to meet her mom for the first time thanks to Willy, who works at a library. Willy then plans to begin making more of his distinctive sweets at an abandoned castle, so he and Lofty go there. Lofty acknowledges he is unpopular in Loompa Land, despite his belief that the debt has been repaid. Lofty accepts Willy's offer of employment and begins working with him. A chocolate factory that Willy would come to be known for across the globe is soon to be established. As the credits roll, Lofty fills us in on the fates of Larry, Abacus, Lottie, and Piper. Everyone got back to work and spent time with family and friends. After Scrubbit and Bleacher were caught tampering with Willy's chocolate, they attempt to consume the evidence, which causes their hair and skin to change color.